Hey peeps, DJMK here, and welcome to another video. Well, happy Earth Day, happy Mother Gaia Day, blessed be. Whatever adjective you want to use for today, hope you have a good day. Well, this weekend has not been easy on anybody, that's for sure. It feels like this weekend has been pretty eventful, to say the least, and to say the most. Rather chaotic. Well, the March for Our Lives happened on Friday, which went pretty well, considering, which is really, really good. Sorry about my live stream being cut short a little bit, and I didn't get to part 2. I got really exhausted. But I'm going to continue on with it. I think it was also the problem with the fact that, unfortunately, with High Sierra, apparently, I'm not able to save my progress. So that's the frustrating part. But I'm still working on that. I'm gonna, as soon as I actually, get some time. As soon as I get some time, I'm gonna see and update that. But also some other news kind of came up, which just really, it just really shocked me, honestly, and I'm still kind of processing it all. Honestly, I don't really know which one I found out first. Yeah, this one I found out first, actually. It's a pretty perfect order, actually. Universal Fan Con got canceled. Well, they say postponed, but either way, it's a cancellation of what you originally planned out, so I'm calling it cancellation. And all the details that have been coming up so far, I'm assuming more will be coming pretty soon. It's been sending a lot of the fan community reeling, myself included, and even more so with the fact that that my parents and I were Kickstarter backers for this convention. So it has been a huge amount of shock. Some of my friends are very connected to the convention scene. And I've heard a number of people have put off their they've put off or pushed forward, or if possible even made their treatments portable, or even move forward the dates of their treatments because of the convention. And I know some people are flying in from pretty far away. Like there's one person from Puerto Rico who is flying in for just this convention this weekend. Just hearing all the stories, it just really hits me right here. But today, I'm not going to pin any blame or anything. Today, this is not going to be an atmosphere of hate. There's already enough of that in the world as is. I don't want to put any further. But definitely responsibility to be taken, that's for sure. And now in some ways, I know better. To be more responsible with what I want to contribute, but more so whether or not people are going to follow through with the mission statements they say. I've organized a lot of events before, and part of me was excited for this event, but then part of me, especially when it got closer, felt nervous because it felt like it was taking on too much too fast. I felt like it was going too massive, especially for a first year con, and especially if you're just starting out with something, even with you being very, very well connected. It's better to start small. Like, start with a local hotel, or something smaller like that, rather than something as big as what Universal Fan Con was trying to do. This I know because I used to organize events, not to the scale of a convention like that, but I know from experience of organizing just local events that you've got to start small. Start with your community first, and then work your way up. And this just went way too fast. Even like, scam ideas aside, or other suspicions aside, it was too much too fast. With the number of guests they were having and the caliber they were having, Even if they were going to come over pro bono, it was still too much too fast. It was giving too much. So, if they happen to, I mean, what they should have done, long story short, I mean, I know, especially nowadays, especially now, in hindsight, I know for most places, I mean, especially for most efforts, it looks skeevy to do a round 2 of a Kickstarter you've already done, and especially if the first one was already successful. But, considering this is a convention, there's going to be a lot of unexpected expenses along the way. So I think what would have been smarter was that when they realized something was wrong, like, hey, these expenses are not going to be enough. Like, it was $40,000 just for the convention center alone, which means they were left with maybe $15,000 to work with. That's really not enough to run a con like this, and with all the things you offer. So the smarter thing should have been to do a round 2 of Kickstarter to cover all those costs, and then I think at this point they would have been ready. They would have been ready, I think. At least in theory. That means it's theory. In practice, you don't know. Some of these things you never know. Or at least they could have just dropped it down to one day. So that way at least people, they at least get something. Albeit, it's less than they bargained for, but at least it's something. It's a start. This put a big halt on so many people's plans. Mine included. Thankfully, I have relatives down in the area, so it wasn't as big of a hit for me. But for so many, like I mentioned earlier, it basically cut things short. But, thankfully, for those who are going to be going over to Baltimore anyway, I am going over there as well, actually. Mainly to visit family, but now that this has popped up, this might be able to give me another way that I could go to Baltimore, because my folks live outside of that. There is a pop-up con that Nerds of Color and Black Heroes Matter just created, called WeComic-Con, because it's happening at the Wikomiko building, aka Pop-Up Con. That's happening Saturday, April 28th. Which was supposed to be day 2 of Universal Fan Con. Apparently, the Avengers Infinity War screening is still happening. That is still happening. For those who have tickets for that. But for those who want to do something for April 28th, you happen to be there for the weekend, come for that. Please, feel free to email info@nerdsofcolor.org, or check out Black Heroes Matter or Nerds of Color, their websites or their Twitter pages for more details. Because they managed to get the venue all set up, and they've gotten a few volunteers already. They've been updating their page almost every hour, which is just amazing. But yeah, that's pretty much what Universal Comic Con should have done, and they didn't. And in terms of other events, for PhillyCon, it is free on Friday and 50% off on Sunday if you show your FanCon ticket or support. So, those are a couple of events you can go for. I also heard there's a women's film festival that's happening that weekend. I can't remember when exactly, but I know there is a festival happening that weekend as well that you can also get admission to if you happen to be a FanCon backer. So there's been a number of things. Other things you can do is call your hotel. If they haven't canceled on you that weekend, call your hotel, tell them that this thing came up, or especially if there's some constraint that forbade you from traveling, like a schedule conflict, or good number of people as well, a health conflict, send them that information, they'll pay you back. Same thing with airplanes. Or you can find a way to put the credit towards another trip in the future. So there's a few ideas you can pull in, and then call your credit card company, tell them what happened, etc. So, but there's, of course, on Twitter, they'll tell you all this stuff too, so give that an advisement. There's also a lot of really good B&B places down in Baltimore, believe it or not. In terms of hotels, I know it's a bit of a distance from the BCC or Rico Miko building, but I like the Hotel Brexton. It's comfortable, it's pretty, and it's very simple fare. It's very nice over there. I also enjoyed the Inn at the Colonnade. It's a little bit outside. But it's a really nice place too. So if you want like hotels, there's a couple I can recommend. In terms of B&B services, if you like, especially if you're wary of Airbnb, Inclusive and Noir B&B, those are two companies you should definitely try out. They are Black owned and supported, and from what I've heard from one of my friends, they are very good, especially if you have a health condition or if you have allergies. So those are two places you should definitely check out. In terms of places you need to stay in and stuff. So, yeah, Universal Fan Con. It's a big disappointment what went down, but on the other hand, though, what I'm seeing from the community is very encouraging. People have been coming together and making the best out of a bad situation. I mean, I even thought of doing cosplaying at the aquarium, which I'm still totally up for if anybody is interested. Because I would love to cosplay at the aquarium. Why not be as colorful as the fish in the sea? So, that's another one we should totally do. Minus the weapons, of course, because of course I will not let that through. But cosplay at the aquarium. How fun would that be? Hit me up on Twitter at DJMK for life. Let's do it. We got Saturday already planned out. Let's do Friday or Sunday. It's cosplay at the aquarium. That would be the best thing ever, wouldn't it? So, cosplay at the aquarium. It's one idea. I'm going to probably tweet it later on after the stream's done. But yeah, I mean, big shame. And I feel for my fellow fans who were affected by this. But I'm also especially impressed about the people, once again, who are making good out of a really, really terrible situation. So, thank you, Black Heroes Matter, and to Nerds of Color, especially, for both those places, really, and to citizens of Baltimore and all my fellow fans for making this possible. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. So, other thing that kind of happened, a bit more on the musical end of things, a bit more of a former thing. I mean, I wish I was back on my radio station. That way I could play a few of his songs in memory, but unfortunately this is YouTube and Twitch, so don't have that flexibility, and even if I did, they would mute me out. Avicii passed away on Friday as well, that same day. And it's kind of a shock, because I've grown up with his music, essentially. And even more shocking thing is that he was only 3 years older than me, so that just shocked me even more. But yeah, I listened to a lot of his music growing up, in high school and in college in particular. I listened to a lot of Avicii, as well as stuff like they're not by him, but they were some of his inspirations. I listened to a lot of Swedish House Mafia, Cascade, Tiesto, David Guetta, Bob Sinclair and the Love Generation, Afrojack. I still listen to a lot of them, and I play them a lot in parties. But yeah, Avicii was one of those names. I listened to him a lot. And it just feels really strange that now he's gone. And especially the songs that he picked out in terms of producing and of course, remixing and stuff, it's definitely one of those things where he loved living life to the fullest. And he was also an advocate for children's rights and support, too. A lot of the obituaries didn't mention that, but he did a lot of charity work for children, to stop abuse, to support them. He did a lot of work for that as well, which is really cool. And he will slowly be missed, but he is with that turntable in the sky, I bet, cranking out some really awesome tunes. And sadly, like he had just retired from live performances 2 years back, but he was still producing pretty good music. So, yeah, Avicii will be missed in the EDM community, and especially the EDM fans, myself included. But, yeah, I hope his family and his friends find some comfort in the fact that he was able to make his mark, especially with him being so young. It's just, my heart goes out to them. So, alright, so I wasn't planning on playing anything today, but this game I've been thinking about playing for a while, and I'm decided to do that now. This game is called Red String of Fate. It is by a company that I've played their games before. They are the producers of Iris, and they kickstarted a game called The Masquerade Killer, though I don't know what progress they made on that. But a game called The Red String of Fate. It is a romance game, as you can see. I know it's supposed to be kind of like inspired by like shoujo kind of stories, but I'm not sure what the plot is, and frankly, I think for once I'm going to go with this I'm going to play this completely in the unknown. The music is really pretty, I will say that. So, I'm going to put my headphones on. But yeah, if you happen to be jumping to the stream, hello and welcome. And I hope, especially with the love story, that this will give you a bit of comfort, especially with all the things that have been happening around the world. And I know visual novels especially are not that popular on Twitch, but most of the other stuff that I would like to play either are behind a paywall or just not supported on Mac. I mean, back trying to get out of that play machine idea, now just made it too steep in the workplace, idea, and now they can't go back. And now PC is dominating on that end. Both ends now, both in terms of work and in play. But the one thing that cannot take away from them is that Mac is still king when it comes to movie production and music. So we got that going for us. Anyway, let's get started with Red String of Fate, shall we? Is this a college classroom? Let's see. I tap my pen against my cheek, mumbling to myself as numbers race through my mind. Oh, her name's Valerie. Nice name. Nate makes a total of $375. I get paid $9 an hour, so that means... I glanced down at my notebook and quickly scrawled down the calculations, probably using much more force than necessary out of frustration. Why are the textbooks for this year so horrendously expensive? Do you realize how many more shifts I have to cover just to make up for the dent in my wallet? I feel your pain, girl. I think that is a girl, right? Yeah, it's Valerie, so... Finally satisfied with my planning, I let my pen fall to the table with a loud clank, causing several people to turn their heads in my direction. I know that feeling. It's pretty warm outside today, so... Gotta hydrate. I look up with a defiant gaze, and ended up meeting the eyes of a boy who's sitting a couple rows in front of me to the right. To my surprise, he looks extremely familiar. The same glint of recognition enters his eyes, which only serves to confuse me further. Which, this did happen in my university, too, believe it or not. The music, too. I cocked my head to one side, my brows furrowing. Do we know each other? The familiar stranger lifts his hand in an excited wave. Despite my usual conscious attempt to ignore the hundreds of red strings flowing around me, I can't help but notice the frayed, thin red thread wrapped around the stranger's finger. Just like that, the pieces click in my mind. It's Aaron, isn't it? The nerd from the same high school I went to? Isn't he a year younger than me? How is he in college already? I had a friend who was 2 years younger and got into college the same time we did. It's not that unusual. Aaron's lips twitched up into a warm smile when I lift my hand slightly in return, too embarrassed to wave back. His lips part and seems to be mouthing something to me, My frown deepens as I try to decipher his silent message. Deep in concentration, I almost jump out of my skin when the professor's voice suddenly raises in volume, echoing in the room. Perhaps the two of you can resume your heartfelt reunion outside the room? I wouldn't wish to interrupt, of course. My head snaps up at lightning speed, my face burning in embarrassment, and I notice Aaron turning back around with a horrified expression. No? Well then, will one of you be so kind as to answer my question then? I can only stare blankly back at him without a single clue what question he's referring to. Aaron seems to be in a similar predicament, and is squirming so much in his seat from what is undoubtedly an unprecedented situation that I fear he'll fall to the floor soon. Oh man. I mean, I end up scrolling in my notebooks a lot of the time. I mean, then again, I'm pretty good at multitasking, so I can get away with that. But yeah, there's the occasional time where I get too sucked in, and then, whoop, what's the question? But then again, I'm often in small classrooms, so I don't really have this problem as much. He said it's worth 60% of our grade for the course. I try not to let my surprise show when a low hiss drips to my ear from behind me. I tend to sound casual. I clear my voice and repeat what my anonymous savior said. You said 60% of our grade for the course, right? The professor pauses and turns back to the projector screen with a nod, not before shooting me one last warning glance. This is basically the first day of college classes. Of course it would happen here. In relief, I twist around slightly to thank whoever it is that saved me from getting kicked out of class on my first day. Which, technically, college professors can't really do that. Although, I mean, they can, but not on the first day. Because otherwise that could affect their rating, and likewise, people would stay in. But then, unless it's like a required course, in that case, then they pretty much have some flexibility. But most of, at least in the US, they're really not supposed to do that unless, it's a disciplinary action. So, I mean, this would kind of count, but it's too minor of it for it to be, like, they would get reported right away if that kind of thing happened. Academics 101. God, thank you so much. My voice trails off as I lose the ability to speak from pure shock. The boy sitting behind me lifts his head slightly with a questioning look, brushing the hair out of his eyes. You're welcome? Are you alright? His eyes fall to my finger for a brief second before his eyes darken in understanding. Oh. Recovering from my stunned speechlessness, I lower my voice to a hush and whisper urgently to him. My heart is pounding in my chest. You can see them too, can't you? I have no idea what you're talking about. His cold reply cut across the air, and I jerked back, my mouth closing uncertainly. No, I can't be wrong. This is the first time I've seen anyone else without a vivid red string around their finger. His string is just like mine, so faint, so stretched, that it's invisible to the naked eye. My entire life, I have been able to see everyone's red strings of fate, which supposedly lead them to their fated soulmate. There are many states possible for someone's red string of fate. It took me years before I could hypothesize what they mean. Some people have strings of vibrant, sharp red, while others have strings as faint and as thin as a ribbon. Some strings can be knotted, or frayed, or even broken. Some strings even lead back to the bearer themselves, ending tied around another finger on the same hand. Despite all that I've seen, I've never met someone else with a near-invisible string. Until now. The way his eyes immediately flick to my finger can only mean one thing. He's a seer like me. Look, you don't have to lie to me. I can see... He's looking at you again. I whirl back around to face the front of the room, both grateful for and irritated by his warning. Before I can decide what to do, there's a loud commotion around me as everybody starts chattering excitedly and leaving their seats. Huh? I glance at the projector screen in front of the room, and my heart sinks. It's a 3-person project that lasts for 2 months, and it's worth 60% of our final course grade? This is what the question I answered was about? An exclamation of disbelief escapes my mouth. I quickly read through the topic, and a hint of panic starts to bubble up inside of me. This is a philosophy class. I swear I picked philosophy from all my general courses, hoping to bluff my way through the essays. Why is this topic heavily related to science? Because believe it or not, philosophy and science, they're kind of like distant cousins. Like, they grudgingly disagree on the dinner table, but when they're in the park or some more casual place, they could easily talk about anything. Just my 2 cents. I could almost see my GPA slipping away from me like a puff of smoke. I try to calm myself with a few deep breaths. Relax, girl. The most you'll probably suffer with is probably maybe academic probation in your first semester. If your other classes are a lot easier, you'll be fine. It's just a group project, Valerie. I'm sure you can ask someone who's good at science for... Aaron! At my barely restrained shout, the guy in question turns his gaze on me. He's standing alone awkwardly at the side, and his face lights up with a bright smile when we make eye contact. Hey, Val! Do you want to be in a group together? Yes! Yes, I do! My knees almost weakening from the rush of relief, I hurriedly gather my belongings to rush to the seat next to his. As I'm about to leave, I suddenly remember the guy sitting behind me. I turn to see him scribbling away his notebook without a care in the world, and he clearly has no intention to leave his seat to find a group. I need to learn more about him. He may be unwilling to talk to me about the one thing we have in common, but I'm not going to give up. Hey, do you want to be in a group with me? There will also be another guy. He's from my high school, and he's really smart and great at science stuff. He'll be great to work with. He meets my eyes, loving me with a stare without a reply for a long moment. I start to shift my weight from one foot to another, uncomfortably waiting for a reply. Finally, he speaks. Okay, thank you for inviting me. I'd be happy to accept. At a snail's pace, he begins to place his items into his bag, switch to another seat with me. The entire time, he doesn't say a word to me. Unnerved by the awkward silence, I blurt out the first thing that pops into my head. Wow, classic word vomit. Here we go. I'm Valerie Wong. I'm a first-year student in journalism. What's your name? I don't think you've mentioned it yet. There's a tiny glint in his eyes that looks like surprise at my question. I'm Luke Hayden, second-year literature major. He doesn't seem inclined to speak again, and we both make the trip over to Aaron's seat in silence. Well, at least he's polite enough to answer when I ask him a question. Perhaps he's just a naturally quiet guy? At least you respect that, Valerie. I like you for that. Val, hi! I'm so glad to see you, really. I'm sorry if I got you into trouble earlier. I was just really delighted that we actually share a class this year. Aaron leans up from his seat as we approach, and he beams at me with enthusiasm. I'm glad to see you too, Aaron. I must say I'm surprised. I thought you were a year below me? I graduated early, so I'm here now. Computer science. You? I give a low whistle, impressed. Journalism. Anyway, thank you so much for letting me be in a group with you. This guy behind me is Luke, and he wants to join us. Is that fine with you? Yes, of course, why not? It's not like I know anyone else here. Relieved, I let myself collapse in the seat next to him. Thank you. God, am I happy to see you. Isn't this a philosophy class? Why in the world is this group project topic on science? Well, to be fair, it's more about evaluating and comparing scientific theories with ideas from philosophy, so it's not really on... He stops at my exasperated stare, and he flashes me a sheepish smile. Don't worry, we'll be fine. Let's get this started, shall we? Affected by his contagious enthusiasm, I can't help but smile back. Might as well. Aaron immediately launches into a speech about the various ideas he has come up with in the past 2 minutes since the professor announced the topic, and I found my mind drifting to the guy still sitting silently on my other side, writing away in his notebook. Luke Hayden. Are you like me? Can you see the strings too? Why do we both have basically invisible strings? Where are our red strings of fate? This is interesting. So we've got basically 2 mediums, or like 2 espers, who could see literal red strings of fate, which is pretty cool. So we got 2 espers who could literally see the red strings of fate in front of them, which is pretty cool. So, hopefully the music isn't too loud. Unfortunately, with I Show You capture, you kind of have to sacrifice volume control for being able to hear what the game actually sounds like, so that's the downside of this. I'm sorry, I'm ready now. I scramble over to the table where Aaron and Luke are seated, blowing the stray strands of hair out of my face. Tongue twister. Aaron's book dangles loosely in his hand as he speaks to a pretty girl standing next to him. He appears to be stuttering, tripping over his tongue, and he suggests a love-struck expression that I find myself smirking. So the rumors are true. Aaron's heart really is easily captured. Luke notices my arrival first, and he meets my eyes for a brief second before nodding and returning his gaze to his notebook. She's here. At Luke's quiet announcement, Aaron jumps in his seat, immediately whirling around to give me a warm smile, even as his cheeks are tinted with a slight shade of pink. Right, yes, Val, you're here. Sorry. I'll catch you later, Aaron. Oh, you're leaving? I mean, I am sure you have something better to do. Right, I'll see you around then, Fiona. The girl leaves with a wave, and Aaron stares after her, retreating back before turning to me with an embarrassed smile, his cheeks tinted red. I'm sorry, did I interrupt? No, I just met her 5 minutes ago. It's just a casual conversation, nothing more. Is it just me, or does he seem saddened by that? Are you sure there's nothing more to it? He seems startled by my teasing grin, and his flush deepens. Did you not notice how gorgeous she is? She's way out of my league. So yes, I'm certain there's nothing more to it. He pauses before seemingly unable to restrain himself from adding to his sentence. Did you see her smile just now? My god, I swear my heart stopped when she flashed those dimples at me. I smirked to myself, shaking my head in amusement. He only met her 5 minutes ago and he's already infatuated? Without meaning to, my eyes flickered to his hand. The faint red thread around his ring finger is frayed at the end where it simply just stops, floating in the air and connected to no one but Aaron. A wave of pity rushes over me. Does he know? Does he know that his soulmate is lost to him in this lifetime? That she's passed away? God, that's sad. Even if he doesn't, could this be one of the reasons why his heart seems so easily swayed? How does it even work when one red string of fate is broken? Next to me, Luke shifts in his chair, and when I look at him, I can tell he's avoiding my eyes. He must have noticed I was staring at Aaron's finger and guessed what I was thinking. Luke must know what a broken string means too. It merely takes 2 seconds to search on the internet to find out that, according to legend, a red string of fate can bend or stretch but never break. It takes fewer than 2 seconds to realize that legends aren't always right, and just walking on the streets with a red string of fate broken is all the proof we need. Aaron's voice brings me out of my thoughts. Anyway, sorry about that. Hey, Val. Oh, yeah, hey, I'm sorry I was late. I got tied up at work. Don't worry, it's fine. These things happen. We should probably head to the room we booked before the library gives it to someone else, though. Oh, right. I almost forgot about that. The three of us stand in unison and we start moving towards the private study rooms. This must be a super well-funded university if they have study rooms. Like, 2 of my universities had study rooms like this. On our way, Aaron begins making conversation, his early desolation vanishing. So Val, we didn't realize you worked here at the library. I worked at the library too, believe it or not. Goodness, Valerie's basically me. Yeah, it's a part-time job. I need the money. Doesn't even pay well? What do you think? He grins in response to my wry look and pulls the door open, gesturing me to enter the room first. Aaron lets out a low whistle as he and Luke follow me into the study room, examining our surroundings. That is really pretty for a study room. That's really pretty. Luke doesn't react, but I notice a glint of amusement in his eyes and a slight upwards twist of his lips. Clearly, as a second-year student, he's been in these rooms before, and he's amused at our reactions. Nice place. I didn't expect the library rooms to look so fancy. Me either, Aaron. Me either. They certainly did it back in our high school. We share a quick grin at the memory of the cramped, dusty old library rooms. I wonder what's so difficult to book a room. Speaking of which, Val, since working in the library, do you get any privileges, say, in booking these rooms? Typically no, but we do have other stuff that we can do a lot better, but let's see. His eyes lit with an expectant look, and I could only laugh helplessly, throwing my hands in the air. I don't know, I've only been working here since August. I'm not sure if I get any privileges or not. I'll try and ask. Pulling out a chair, I fall out into the seat with a loud exhale of exhaustion. Well, there was one privilege. Library fees? So much easier to cover back then, back when you looked at working in the library. Because we were working at the same time, so boom. I give myself one heartbeat to close my eyes and rest before straightening, regarding my group mates with a hopefully bright smile. Alright, so fill me in first. What did I miss? Nothing. We wanted to wait for you before we began our discussion. Oh. Please, I give him a nod of gratitude. Thanks, I'm sorry about the delay. We can start any time now. At some point during my brief conversation with Aaron, Luke has already retrieved his notebook from his pocket and resumed scribbling in it after grabbing a seat for himself. I wonder what's in the notebook. Is it like a sketchbook? Is it like a book of stories considering he's a literature major? What is it? I'm wondering. As though feeling my expectant stare burning a hole in the crown of his head. What a description. And you're a journalism major, so it makes sense. Luke lowers his pen and flips his notebook closed. Yes, please begin whenever. Right, where did we leave off a few days ago? Have you guys considered the ideas I suggested? Which one do you prefer? I pull out my laptop from my backpack and flip it open, opening the document Aaron emailed to me yesterday. I make a face at all of the unfamiliar scientific terms. Well, I was thinking maybe we could choose to do the project on the origins of the human race. The evolution theory, maybe? It seems like it would be the easiest out of the possible topics, especially since we can compare it to the religious view. Are you sure? I have a feeling a lot of groups will be doing the same topic, and it will be harder to stand out if we want that A. I suppose we could try and go deeper into the subject and explore the more complicated parts. I mean, we could probably not only talk about Darwinian evolution, but also discuss a bit about intelligent design theory, and I can only give him a blank stare, blinking as he continues on for a long minute, spouting nothing but jargon that I can't even wrap my mind around. I'm not gonna giving her recited a little bit. I'm not gonna play fingers now. Not today. You lost us at complicated. Aaron breaks off with an apologetic smile, but I can't help but chuckle. Well, at least one of us knows what we're doing. I'm sorry, I'll try to explain it again in a clear way that's easier to understand. No, please don't. It's fine. I could hardly bite back a smile at Luke's hasty reply. It's clear that he's not eager for a repeat of Aaron's scientific explanations. Well, Aaron, first, do you think we should go with this topic? I know you said it might not be a good choice because it would undoubtedly be popular. He frowns, pondering my question for a moment. I don't know. It's not something I would personally choose, but it's doable as well, of course. We continue discussing about various aspects of the project, debating about the advantages and disadvantages of each topic. As expected, Luke rarely speaks, more of an observer than a participant. But when he does chime in, he usually says something surprisingly insightful. It's clear that Aaron's respect for Luke is growing more from the way he's clapping Luke on the back warmly as he stands up to leave at the end of our meeting. Good work today, everyone! Thank you! That was quite fun. Well, fun isn't really a word I use to describe the project, but you're right, it was a good discussion. Thank you. You two are brilliant. To my surprise, Aaron actually blushes at my compliment, and he stammers through his response. I really didn't do anything. You came up with really good ideas yourself. Anyways, I should probably run. See you tomorrow, Val. He practically trips over his feet as he scurries away towards the exit, leaving Luke and I staring bemusedly after him. There's a beat of silence before Luke also stands up from his chair, gathering his belongings into his backpack. It's time for me to leave as well. Thanks for the hard work today. Wait! The word tumbles out of my mouth before the thought even forms clearly in my mind. Luke peeks up from me behind his messy hair falling into his eyes with a questioning look. Yes? I'll walk with you. His hands pause in their motions for a moment before he shrugs and slings his backpack across his shoulder. Sure, why not? Are you heading home now? Hurriedly sweeping my items into my bag, I rush over to him where he's standing by the table, waiting for me. I fall into step beside him, and we walk out of the room together. No, I still have something to do first. Sorry, got a new perfume. What about you? Yeah, I don't have any classes for the evening, so I'll just head home now. So, you live off campus? Are you from around here? No, I decided to rent an apartment with a friend nearby. Right. I live in the dorms instead to save money. Whereas in the U.S. universities, living in the dorms actually costs more money. Oftentimes. Obviously with some exceptions, of course, but in this case, I saved a lot more money living off campus than I did on. It probably wasn't a good idea, to be honest. With all the people around all day, it's much harder to ignore all the strings floating everywhere. I'll probably end up with migraines every week. Still, is the most affordable choice. Instead of pretending he doesn't know what I'm referring to my surprise, Luke simply frowns without a word. I open my mouth to ask him the questions bring my mind, but he beats me to speaking first, his voice a soft murmur. Try keeping your eyes on the ground when you're walking past busy areas on campus. You probably already know that, but I find that it helps. My footsteps slow to a second in my shock at Luke's open admission to the secret we share. He continues to walk on ahead, and I stumble after him, excitement bubbling up in my chest. So you admit it. You can see the strings after all. How much do you know about them? Why are we the only ones who seem to be able to see the strings? Why can't we see our own or other seer strings? The questions spill out of my mouth one by one, but Luke keeps his gaze firmly ahead without a hint of acknowledgement that he heard me. Finally, the frustration of his uncooperative attitude explodes out of me in an angry yell. Hey! Did you hear what I asked? You're the first person I've met who's like me, you know. Do you know how difficult it has been all these years, unable to talk to anyone about what I can see, unable to ask what is going on? The least you can do is answer me and tell me what you know. Luke also stops walking and he turns to look at me fully. There's a strange pain in his blazing eyes that almost makes me stumble a step back. Why do you even want to know? If you're smart, you'll learn just ignore their presence and pretend you can see nothing out of the ordinary. Trust me, it's better that way. What do you mean by that? I don't believe that. If we can see red strings of fate, there must be a reason. Luke simply shakes his head and pushes the exit doors open, walking away from me without another glance backwards. He's swallowed up by the crowd in an instant, but the memory of the burning emotion in his eyes refuses to leave my mind for a long, long time after we part. I wonder if there's some sort of tragic backstory for people who can actually see them, versus those who just live life. I'm already hooked. I know I haven't finished Iris yet, but that'll come up in a bit. I keep my eyes firmly to the screen and the laptop in front of me, refusing to give in to the urge of peek at Luke, who's sitting at the opposite side of the table. The silence between us drags on, and the tension is so thick that it can be cut with a knife. Where in the world is Aaron? He's late. I didn't pick a straight-A nerd like him for someone who would be late to a project meeting. How dare he leave me alone with Luke like this? I haven't spoken to Luke again since the last time we met at the library for a group meeting, and it's clear the conversation is still in the front of our minds and the way we were avoiding each other like the plague. I swallow, start the new document on my laptop, and begin typing away at random just to appear preoccupied. Slowly, my random typing turns into something more meaningful. I find myself opening a document containing my travel plans, and I begin adding more notes to my file. I can't wait until I can stop this planning and just hop onto a plane and travel to Asia to look for him. For the 1000th time, I find myself wondering what he looks like, what my soulmate looks like, and which country he's in. He must be far away if my string is so faint that it's practically invisible to my eyes, right? I'm sorry I'm late. I'm here now. Have you been waiting long? Hey, Aaron. Jerking out of my thoughts, I slam my laptop shut reflexively. I look up to see a panting Aaron sliding into a chair at the table. Aaron, there you are. You're almost half an hour late. Where have you been? I'm so sorry. But wait, listen. First, I have something very important to tell you. I narrow my eyes at him as he practically vibrates in his seat from excitement and pulls something out of his pocket to show me. We got invited to Irene's birthday party this weekend. Can you believe that? Who? Aaron looks possibly horrified at my question. The junior! Fashion major! Beautiful strawberry blonde hair and the clearest sea blue eyes. She's like one of the most popular girls here. Oh, her. Yes, her. She's inviting us to a party she's holding next weekend. All three of us. Unable to share his enthusiasm, I frown in confusion. Why? How do you even know her in the first place? Did you know she's in the same general's class as us? I didn't either, but last week she came up to me asking for help with the essay she was stuck on. We exchanged numbers and been texting sometimes. She ended up sending me an invite to the party as a show of gratitude for all my help. Aaron beams, positively glowing from his development of events. Before I can reply, Aaron continues, leaning back in his chair with a proud expression. I know, you don't have to thank me. We're going to have a great time this weekend. We? Who says we're going? At least I'm assuming Luke shares my view and doesn't really see the appeal of this party. Aaron and I both look over to Luke expectantly, and he merely gives a small shrug. I'm not into parties in general. There we go. You can go by yourself, Aaron. At that, Aaron almost falls out of his chair, and his lips slip into a pout. No! Val, you can't! I'll be the pathetic loser riding the party all alone while everyone else comes there with friends or with a significant other. You can't leave me like that. I could hardly bite back a smile at Aaron's dramatic, horrified speech. You'll live. Aaron's eyes widen comically, and he clasps his hands together. No, you can't do that to me. It's gonna be my first party, you know? Don't ruin for me, please. I'm not close enough with anyone else but the two of you to invite them to a party like this out of the blue. Please, Val, I'm begging you. It's my one and only chance. I've been to parties by myself. You'll be fine. Aaron gives me these best tempted puppy dog eyes, and I have to admit, for a second I almost cave in instantly. Luke, I don't go to parties. I'll just stay in and work at the project a bit more. He hesitates before continuing, somewhat reluctantly. You're welcome to join me if you like. We probably have to catch up to Aaron's progress anyway. Luke, bro, you can't do that to me. You're supposed to have my back as my bro. You're supposed to be my wingman, my second in command, the cleric to my warrior, and support to my carry. I can't help but laugh at that, shaking my head at Aaron. Luke looks just baffled by that. Luke. Oh gosh. Luke just looks baffled by his passionate declaration, which only heightens my amusement. Aaron really is such a nerd. Nothing wrong with that, Valerie. Valerie, please, you're my last hope. Should I go with Aaron or Luke? Decision number 1. Thankfully, the save files work here, so we're good here. So, go with Aaron to the party, or decline and work at the project with Luke on the weekend instead. It's hard, because I'm just considering Aaron's tragic end. There might be some way that we could mend it if we show up. But then on the other hand, though, this could be another opportunity for Valerie to find out what those strings will do. Because Luke has no escape at this point. They both have a project. They need that A. Peeps, for anybody who's watching on YouTube or Twitch, tell me. Should I go to the party? See what strings are floating? Or should I go to, should I just go to work on my project like a good student? Well, okay, that's very statistically biased. Okay, so with Aaron, on the bright side, we get to support our best friend as he's going to as he's going to do his romantic rendezvous, which could possibly result in his string being mended or something. On the other hand, though, the fact that Aaron's backstory is tragic, and also that there's so many strings, this could go down south very quickly. On the flip side, we've got Luke, where on the bright side, we get an advantage in the project, and we could find out more about what these red strings mean, and maybe finally break the ice on what's going on with why he thinks the red strings are so negative. But on the other hand, considering how uncooperative he was about being a seer of red strings and the negative association he has with said red strings, we might be back at square one. But it's possible we could have some more reconciliation. Both these options are equally valid. So, which one should I do? So, we've got 0 viewers on Twitch, and I don't know how many viewers on YouTube. So, yep, I'm on my own. I don't want to leave an old friend hanging, but on the other hand, though, if they don't talk, it's gonna make the group dynamic a lot harder to deal with. So, like, I'm almost tempted to stay behind to not only get ahead in the project, but also to keep the group dynamic positive, since Luke has been so negative. But then, it's kind of cruel of me to leave Aaron hanging, especially the fact that we're high school friends. I mean, I know usually, especially with some things, it's oftentimes we tend to distance ourselves from high school people, but he has been a good friend, and it's somebody that we have not expected to see. I think it's maybe the first, like, love interest kind of narrowing down, but then again, she already has a soulmate, and so does Luke, so who knows? This is tricky. Oh my gosh. Already I'm feeling... You can't skip it either. Oh my gosh. And there's no default either, so you literally have to decide here. Oh my gosh. But you know, Luke is pressing me more and more because I want to know, what is it about him and the strings? What is his relationship with them? And especially, why are theirs transparent? I'm curious what's going on. But thankfully, I did save before this decision, so I can come back to it later and find out what would happen if we went to the party instead. So let's go with my original decision and go with Luke on the weekend. I try to imagine going to a noisy party packed with drunk people and filled with red strings floating everywhere, and I could barely hold back a grimace. It doesn't sound pleasant at all. Maybe I'll try to ask my bosses to let me cover an extra shift or two on the weekends instead. And if I don't have work for me, perhaps I can join Luke instead. I make a face playfully at Aaron before shaking my head with an apologetic smile. I'm sorry. Maybe I should work with Luke on the project this weekend instead. He's right, we're behind on progress. I need to catch up if I want to pull my weight. His project is important after all. I'll check my schedule later to see if I'm free. Is that alright with you, Luke? Luke's head jerks upwards, and he meets my eyes with a clear expression of surprise, but he doesn't protest or speak up to revoke his offer. Did he really expect me to go with Aaron to the party? Next to him, Aaron's head falls into a table with a thunk, and he groans in misery. I can only smile at the top of his head in amusement and apology. You'll be fine, Aaron. I'm sure loads of people are going alone, too. I really doubt it. Oh well, it's not the end of the world, I suppose. See, I told you, Aaron, you'll be fine. Aaron lets out another long sigh before straightening, still pouting. I suppose we should get back to the project. We've wasted enough time. I'm sorry about that. Right, we should. I need to leave at 5 for work. Oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't know you had work right after this. Yes, of course. Let's get back on track. His expression grows solemn and he turns in his laptop. We should probably pick up where we left off last time and discuss the division of labor first. With that, the project meeting officially begins, but I can't help but notice Luke continuously sneaking peeks at me. What does Luke want from me? Walk with me? Who is he even? Just what exactly does he know? I throw myself onto my bed, landing on my stomach. My eyes almost immediately start to close from pure exhaustion, and I give my head a hard shake, trying to clear my drowsiness. No time to rest. I have to get ready for my shift at the restaurant. With a low groan and the willpower of Atlas, I manage to drag myself out of the comfortable warmth of my bed. I turn to grab my belongings, and the flash of my phone screen catches my attention. It's a text from a coworker at a restaurant. Are you going to go with the rest of us to visit the boss's baby tomorrow? Huh? I fire a quick text, asking what she means, and my phone buzzes in my hand a few seconds later with a reply. Did you forget? Boss gave birth yesterday, remember? That's why the restaurant's closed today to celebrate. Oh, right! The vague memory of someone texting me about a new war baby surfaces in my mind. It happened so late last night, I barely glanced at the text before turning in my bed and falling back asleep. My brows furrow. I forgot the restaurant will be closed today, even though the owner isn't required to be here during business hours anyway. Stupid Chinese tradition. I guess this means I'm free for the rest of the day. Damn, I want to do some extra shifts today for more money. Torn between relief and disappointment, I once again collapsed into my bed. This time, I let sleep put me under. The persistent annoying buzzing sound slowly tears me from my dreams, and I moan groggily, my hand searching for the evil device in question. Yeah, I hate buzzing alarms. I always make my alarms music. Prying open one eye, I notice with the start that Aaron is calling me. What does he want? I like this. I let out a loud yawn before answering the call, grumbling a greeting. The background noise from his end is so deafening that I instantly pull my words. Okay, hold on. Also, the music's really funny too. The background noise from his end is so deafening that I instantly pull my phone away from my ear, cringing. What the hell? Aaron! Valerie! Finally! Aaron, I can barely hear you. Why is it so noisy? Where in the world are you? Irene's party! Remember? I frowned, trying to make sense of Aaron's slurred, strangely jagged out words. Kids, do not do underage drinking. A message from GGMK. I approve this message. Aaron, are you drunk? Drunk? Never. I'm not drunk. First time being drunk, he's denying it. He gives a loud hiccup, and I can only shake my head in amusement at the phone. Right. Of course you aren't. Well, what are you calling me for? He pauses, seemingly needing a moment to recollect his thoughts. I was going to ask you if Luke want to come. It's a great party. No, I'll pass. Why don't you ask Luke yourself? Shouldn't he be with you? Hey Luke, bro! What's up? I flinch as Aaron suddenly raises his voice, showing us a... Okay, let me... Yeah, because I remember... There's something before that, hold on. Loud hiccup. Okay, she was drunk calling, essentially. Got that. I flinch as Aaron suddenly raises his voice, shouting as though Luke can hear him through my phone. Jesus, Aaron, you're gonna deafen me. Luke's not even here. Wait. If the party is today, that means I'm supposed to be with Luke for the project today. I thought it was next weekend! A string of curses escape my mouth, and Aaron giggles like a delighted child. What does that word mean? You know, I can't talk now. I'll talk to you later. Hang up quickly. On Aaron, I immediately dial Luke's number. He answered a few rings and I start babbling an apology. I'm so sorry. I forgot our meeting is today. I swear I'm not usually the scatterbrained. I've just been so tired from my shifts at work and... Valerie? Yes, right. Hi, it's Valerie. I could have sworn I heard a light chuckle from his end of the phone. It's fine. Breathe. Are you still there at the library? I'll come as soon as possible. Cradling the throne... phone. I also said cradling the throne. I slid off the bed. Cradling the phone in the crook of my neck, I slid off the bed and started sweeping my laptop and notebook into my bag. Oh. No, I'm not at the library anymore. I waited for a bit, but when you didn't show, I thought you went to the party with Aaron after all and forgot to let me know. A fresh wave of guilt hit me, and I sigh, apologizing again. It's fine. Do you still want to work on the project together? Yes, of course. Unless it's too much trouble for you to come back to campus, then we could just reschedule. I could hear his quiet breathing as he thinks for a long moment before replying. I'm going to be free for another hour or so. If you want, we can work on the project at my place. Otherwise, I'm afraid we'll have to reschedule. I'm sorry, I know this is inconvenient, but I'd really rather not make the trip back to campus, because I'd have to rush back home after 40 minutes anyway, since I have an important call scheduled. Oh, well, in that case, I'll head to your place now. What's your address? Luke thanks me, and I scribble down the address he gives me before we end the call. It takes me a while, but I finally reach Luke's apartment. Luke is the one to answer, and he waves me in. He must be a really, really rich person, or has really good savings, if he's able to have a place like this. This is really nice. For a moment, I can only stand there at the door, unsure what to say. Hi. He seems mildly amused by my awkward greeting. Hello. I'm really sorry about forgetting our meeting. He leans against the doorframe with one hand in his pocket, his lips twitching up into a smile. It's fine. I'm sorry for making you head all the way out here. Thank you for coming. He opens his mouth to say something and pauses as though trying to decide whether he should say it or not. Apparently he decides in the affirmative because he continues. I'm supposed to be having a video call with my grandma tonight, so I didn't want to be late. I'm sorry. No, it's fine, really. It was my fault in the first place for forgetting and making you wait at the library for ages. Right, well, we should probably get started then. We don't have much time. I nod in agreement, and he starts leading me to his room. As I pass by the living room, I notice a boy around our age lounging on the couch with a book in hand. Or the second thing I should have thought of was the fact that he has a roommate to split the cost with. That should have popped in my mind already. And to any new viewers jumping into the stream, welcome. Willkommen. He glances up at us, and he seems rather surprised when his gaze falls on me. Hey, Luke, is that your friend over there? Luke's footsteps halt, and he nods. And I think the L is lowercase, too, so it might be a little typo in this game. This is Valerie, one of my partners in a project. Valerie's Zeke, my roommate. Hi. I lift my hand in a small wave, and Zeke gives me a friendly grin, but the curious look in his stare remains. I cock my head in confusion. Why is Zeke reacting to my presence here like this? Probably because his roommate's also a seer of red strings. Did you not think of that? Well, I'll be in my room if you need me, Zeke. Sure, good luck with your project. Luke gestures towards the hallway, and I fall into pace behind him once again, trying to ignore Zeke's stare burning a hole in my back. Make yourself at home. I'll go get us some water. Speaking of water. I need more. He makes his way out of the room, and I seize the opportunity to study his room. It's smaller and tidier than I expected. Better than my room. It's surprisingly lacking in books except for a row on the shelf near his bed. Curious, I shuffle closer and carefully pluck a book from its resting place, flipping it open. Oh my god! I let out a loud exclamation at the surprise at the same time Luke returns, and his gaze falls to the book in my hands. I'm nervous now. Be careful with that! He scurries over, wresting the book gently from me, and I'm still so stunned that I make no move to stop him. That's a first edition of Pride and Prejudice! How much is that thing worth? I'd react that way too, actually, if I came across that. He returns the book in its place with a clear degree of caution. His motions light and slow before turning to face me. One hand flies over to the back of his neck, and he seems a little uneasy. It was my grandpa's. He gave it to me as a birthday present. Speechless, I can only shake my head in awe. Yeah! Wow. I was about to say that! I try to peer around him at the rest of the books on the shelf, noting the worn condition they are all in. Are they all first edition books as well? Luke clears his throat in discomfort and gestures to the desk in the corner, a silent request for me to drop the topic. Darn, I want to know what about his books now. Swallowing the residue of my shock, I nod and follow him over to his desk, pulling out my laptop. Right, so how much progress have you made for your part of the research? Not much, I'm afraid. I'm sorry. In my lack of a reply, Luke turns out to look at me, catching me still peering curiously in the direction of his bookshelf out of the corner of my eye. I can only give him a sheepish smile in response. He shakes my head slowly, but I can tell he's trying to suppress a smile, his eyes gleaming with a hint of amusement. Sorry, I'll focus now. Tearing my eyes away from the magnetic book resting on the shelf, I attempt to concentrate on the work in front of me. It takes a while, but eventually I find myself absorbed in my task. Before long, we are working alongside each other in peaceful silence. Occasionally, we'll throw out ideas for discussion, or ask each other questions for clarification, and I'm amazed by how quickly we are making progress by helping each other out. And speaking of which, I need to double check something. Oops. Typo. Okay, hold on. There we go. Okay, I have time. Sorry, so I gotta look at homework for a little bit, so this story just reminded me of that. Anyway. At some point, we decided to take a break. Stretching to ease the soreness in my muscles, I look up with a hint of surprise to see Luke silently offering me a chocolate bar. Yes, please, thank you. He drops the chocolate bar onto my palm, and I peel the wrapper off and take a small bite. I moan in appreciation of the delicious chocolate. What is up with me today? Wow, this tastes wonderful. I love chocolate. He seems to eye his snacks with a hesitant look before making up his mind and pushing the remaining chocolate bars on the table towards me. You can have the rest. Are you bribing me into not speaking about the first edition books I saw in your room today? It depends. Is it working? Oh, you sneaky students! Possibly. It will only give me an explanation as well, though. It looks vaguely uncomfortable again, his hand flying to the back of his neck. I wonder. Are we getting a Phoenix Wright story here? There really isn't anything to tell. My grandfather collected those books and he gave them to me for my 18th birthday. He just gave away a whole priceless collection of classic literature? Your grandfather must be rich or just an insanely generous person. We're back to reason one, aren't we? I don't know, I guess you could say he was very giving. I didn't miss Luke's use of past tense, or the sorrowful expression that fleets across his face. Don't tell me! Did he start noticing red strings of fate with his family, and then maybe possibly this might be like, well, we don't know what side, like, his grandparents are, he's talking about, like, his grandpa and grandma are, or if they're the ones that were supposed to be together, but I have a feeling that, like, at least, I'm guessing maybe one side of his family, anyway, I'm guessing that maybe his grandpa might have fallen for somebody, or maybe got married to somebody that he wasn't in love with red string of fate, and then when that person passed away, the string broke and it practically sent him to a tizzy, and then he passed away himself. And again, that might be too common of a story, so that might not be it. Let's see. Mentally, I kick myself. Good job, Valerie. Way to go. I'm sorry for your loss. It was years ago. I'm fine. Despite his reassurance, there's still a hint of sadness in his dark eyes. Clearly, he was close to his grandfather. And, yeah, it just really reminds me of my grandpa, too. He passed away earlier this year, and I still miss him. Being able to talk to him, too, so... Hastily, I cleared my throat and tried to steer the subject to a safer area. So, I didn't expect a literature major to only have a handful of books in his room, even if they do cost more than 50 books put together. I keep my books in a separate room. Wait, you have a library in your apartment? The corner of his lips tugged upwards into a half-smile, so my relief, sadness, and his expression fades away. It's not really a library, just a messy room full of bookshelves. You see, my roommate is also in literature. You can imagine the amount of books we would have combined. We didn't have a choice but to save a room for the books. Impressive. Can I check that out later? Yes, of course. Just be careful, otherwise you might cause a landslide of books and be buried alive. His eyes twinkled in amusement, and I grinned back at him. You know, I should probably make a bookshelf in my room. Because I have so many books. I have books in my book, on my... What? I have books on my bed. I have books on my bed. I have books underneath this desk. I have books everywhere. Okay. Just want to make sure that I didn't skip anything. Okay, good. His eyes twinkled in amusement, and I grinned back at him. You better tackle me out of the way if that happens, I'll be charged with murder. It wouldn't be my fault if you caused the accident yourself. Will you just stand by and watch me die? You expect me to dive in the endless pit of books and pull you out? I throw my head back in laughter, shooting in a mock, wounded look. It's interesting despite despite his usual quietness, he has a sharp wit and a sense of humor that never fails to amuse me when it makes an appearance. There's a lull in our conversation, and I return to snacking on chocolate, still grinning from our banter. My head snaps up when Luke breaks the silence first with a sudden question. So, why didn't you go to the party with Aaron? Huh? What do you mean? Here we go. Luke fidgets a little, his fingers toying with a stray thread in his sweater. Isn't he a good friend of yours? Why didn't you go to the party with him? What? Oh. Yeah, I've known Aaron since high school. Not well, but still. We're friends now, I guess. But, well, you know why I turned that offer down. I went to a gathering, not even a crowded party, once in high school, and I immediately regretted it the second I walked into the room. Way too many people. A frown briefly appears in his forehead before he understands my meaning, and he nods in comprehension. Unfortunately, at the reminder of the one thing we have in common, our heated conversation from the other day resurfaces in my mind, and from the way Luke is averting his eyes, I'm sure he's remembering the same incident. The tension returns, and the silence drags on until it finally becomes too intolerable. What should I do? So, here we go. Do I break the tension, stay silent, or use this opening? So, considering this is like we're still trying to get a report from Luke, we could use this time to break the tension. On the other hand, though, considering they've been hesitating for so long, they should stay silent. But on the other hand, it could turn to repercussions later. They could use this opening to talk about the String of Fate, so that way at least they could get some of this out in the open. But on the other hand, this has been a very, very, very sore subject, and plus we're in his apartment, so he has every right to kick us out if we get to a too uncomfortable situation. And considering the way Zeke was looking at us earlier, I would not be surprised if he was a seer or had some magical connection, or just was just really overprotective. Was just really overprotective of Luke, or just really a guard dog, essentially. So, but staying silent's not gonna help either, because it might think things just. So I think for now, let's try to get comfortable with him first, and let's break the tension. Because continuing silence, I don't know how he's gonna put that down. Let's try that. I end up blurting out the first thing that comes to mind, hoping to return to the easy, comfortable atmosphere from earlier. Besides, I want to spend some time with you. I don't know you as well as I know Aaron, but I would change that and become friends. Thank you, Valerie! You're a genius! Wow, that sounded even lamer out loud than it did in my head. No, it didn't! Feeling awkward at my outburst, I wait with bated breath for Luke's response, my lower lip between my teeth. He appears to hesitate for a second, his head tilting to one side, before his lips slowly twitch upwards. There's new warmth in his eyes when he makes contact with me, peering at me from behind a lock of hair. You want to be friends? Because we can't just confront him just because he's able to sing the red strings too. Come on. Let's be friends. The fact that we can relate to each other on this one thing, maybe now that we know that we both can see the strings, we find comfort in each other, and eventually we can exchange knowledge, and we get closer together. Now that we know what these strings mean, and then because we have this power, we know what to do with it. So, and also, I get to know this dude too. I mean, come on, first edition books on a shelf, and a library, and a separate room of his apartment. That's cool. I would love that in my apartment. I want that in my apartment. Right. I see. He lowers his gaze to his book, and he casually flips a page, the conversation seemingly over. Dodge that one! Despite his lack of real response, the small pleased smile still playing on his lips is enough to make my awkwardness melt away, and I relax the relieved sigh, having averted a crisis. We averted a crisis! We return to our work in silent agreement, and I'd almost forgotten this conversation when Luke's soft murmur drips to my ears, so low that I nearly missed it. We're already friends. Yay! This is what I needed, people. This is what I needed. And this is the part that I really loved about FanCon, about people who are going to go for FanCon, who are now going to go to Comic-Con, is the way that we kind of look at each other as friends, even though the most we've done is probably interact online. And some of these people have been the sweetest people I ever talked with on Twitter. So, anybody from Universal FanCon, in terms of, like, or going to Comic-Con later on. Thank you for the comfort. It's much needed. And this game, thank you for Ebullience Games for making this game. This is what I needed. It's just so adorable. Okay. You know, if anybody has any questions or things you want to talk about, please feel free to go in the chat box and talk. Because it's not a bad time to have some company. It's called a fan's reprieve for a reason. So, go ahead. I'm all ears. Oh my gosh, that was very cheesy. Let me get my charger. But yeah, I think I'll go at this for another hour, and then I'm gonna do my Earth Day meditation afterwards. So yeah, let's see what other decisions. So it's clear that we are on the Luke route today. So hopefully this gets us all together. And then definitely the next one, we will cover Aaron next. So whether it's going to be this first decision or something else, let's see. This time, it's my turn to try and stifle my smile as I focus my gaze on the laptop screen in front of me. That's perfect timing too, actually. I jam my fingers against the table, trying to stifle a yawn. The clock continues ticking loudly in the quiet library. Its steady rhythm is almost hypnotic its steady rhythm, an almost hypnotic spell, luring me to sleep. I let my head fall into the surface of the table face first, closing my eyes with a groan. 2 more hours left until I get off work. I feel you. I feel you. I used to work late shifts in the library. It was nice to have the quiet, but not when you're not distracted with something. Then I can rest. After finishing the 2,000-word essay due tomorrow that I haven't even started yet. Another heavy groan escapes me, and I'm started hitting my head lightly against the desk, lamenting every single decision I've made in life that led me up to this point. Val, are you alright? Huh? What? My head snaps up so fast I almost gave myself whiplash, and I see Luke standing in front of me, trying to stifle an amused grin. Flustered, I return his smile, trying to smooth my hair and appear casual. Maybe the invisible thread is basically like a Sears immunity lick. This is basically an indication you can do whatever you want. You have your choice in your destiny. Ah! Okay. Oh, hey Luke, what are you doing here? His gaze falls briefly onto the pile of books in his arms, and I titter. Heat now starting to rise to my cheeks. Great. Why do I always end up looking like this clumsy airhead in front of Luke? He has a penchant for catching me at my worst moments somehow. Right, of course, this is a library. Of course you're here to borrow books. So, she's at the circulation desk, I'm assuming. You want to check out these books? Just hand them over here. Luke heaves the books onto the counter, and his lips curve into a warm smile. If you don't mind, I'm gonna go ahead and light a few candles to set the mood. Oh yeah. I'm that person. Anyway. Luke heaves the books onto the counter, and his lips curve into a warm smile. Thanks, Val. Just a little incense. Give positive vibes. I got the first book on the pile to scan the barcode, and the title of the second book on the cover catches my eye. I failed to bite back a giggle. Luke looks confused for a moment before realization dawns on him. In a swift moment, he removes 3 books in the pile and holds them behind his back. My giggle turns into full-blown laughter at Luke's mortified expression. I didn't expect you to have this kind of taste in books. These are for an essay in for class. Right. I had to write a women's sexuality and literature. I don't usually read these for fun. Is that a stutter I detected in his voice? And is that a fake blush on his cheeks? Yeah, he's blushing right now. Grinning in amusement, I can't resist teasing him. It's alright. Your secret's safe with me. Luke doesn't respond. The color on his cheeks darkening, his eyes dart away from mine. Taking pity on him, I returned to my task of checking his books out for him while making small talk. So what class is that? Huh? Noting Luke's confusion, I elaborate. What class do you have to read those books for? Speaking of which, you need to give them to me, or else I can't check them out for you. Slowly, with clear reluctance, Luke returns the books to their original positions on the pile, and his reply is so soft that I can barely hear him. Gender, sexuality, and literature. Right, that makes sense then. When does the essay due? This Friday. I pull a sympathetic face, pausing to type in the serial number of the book in the computer, since the barcode scanner decides to malfunction, as usual. Unfortunately, when I was working in the library, we were not able to do that, but there were some people who could. You could do that for items, but you couldn't do it for cards. The cards each had their own codes on them, so. I reached for the next book, unable to resist peeking at the name again. W.H. Auden, huh? What's your favorite poem of his? Luke straightens and a glint enters in his eyes. Funeral Blues. Do you know that poem? I scrunch up my face, making a wild grasp of the vague memory flooding at the edge of my mind. Let's see if I can find that poem, by the way. Funeral Blues. W.H. Auden. Because I think I had to read that a little bit for my English class, though. It was a long time ago. Is that the one that starts with "Stop all the clocks," something like that? That sounds familiar, actually. It was the one with "Don't wonder about who the bell tolls." I think it's the one that has that line in it too. Let me read it for you. Oh, it's different. It's a different poem. Anyway, here is "Funeral Blues" by W.H. Auden. Let me change the screen for this. Funeral Blues by W.H. Auden. Stop all the clocks, cut off the telephone, prevent the dog from barking with a juicy bone, silence the pianos, and with muffled drum, bring out the coffin, let the mourners come. Let aeroplanes circle moaning overhead, scribbling on the sky the message he is dead. Put crepe bows around the right necks of the public doves, let the traffic policemen wear black cotton gloves. He was my north, my south, my east and west, my working week and my Sunday rest, my noon, my midnight, my talk, my song. I thought that love would last forever. I was wrong. The stars are not wanted now. Put out every one. Pack up the moon and dismantle the sun. Pour away the ocean and sweep up the wood. For nothing now can ever come to any good. Dang, Auden. So let's get back to the game. And of course you got it right. So, hey. He seems impressed by my knowledge, and his new appreciative glint in his eyes when he meets my gaze. Right. I remember that from my literature classes in high school. It's quite a sweet but sad love poem, isn't it? I learned it in middle school, that's why I couldn't remember it. Because we read it in middle school and we were debating about who the speaker in the poem is. We were guessing it could be a woman who lost her husband, but then it could be a bystander, and then some of us thought maybe it could be a man losing his lover. Like, we had this huge debate. Huge, but Yeah, I remember talking about this meaning of this poem a long time ago. It's not a love poem. Well, not really. Do you know what the poem was originally a satirical piece in a play? I remember that now! Yes! It was a satire. Really? I didn't know that. He later changed it to make it less satirical, but to be honest, the sarcastic tone still remains. Especially in the second stanza, with the airplane line. That second stanza is still satirical in some ways. I remember that now. On the surface, it is a dramatic love poem, but a second wildly different analysis. Almost excitedly, Luke grabs the book and flips open to the page where the poem in question is printed. He points to the page and I follow his gaze. Look, see how perfectly structured the poem is, almost overtly so for a poem about a hysterical lover mourning the partner's death. Perfect rhyming couplets, quatrain, iambic pentameter. That is true! Oh my gosh! That is true! Let me pull it up for you. I'll show you what he's talking about, because this is really astounding. Let me show you what he's talking about, because it's way too perfect for it to be a legitimate play, like a legitimate poem, or at least like legitimate in our sense. Let me pull it up. Funeral Blues by W.H. Auden. Okay. So let me show you what it looks like. So this is what it looks like, courtesy of allpoetry.com. Funeral Blues. Look at how perfect it is. He said, perfect rhyming couplets, quatrain, iambic pentameter. Stop all the clocks, cut off the telephone, prevent the dog from barking with a juicy bone. Silence the pianos with muffled drum, bring out the coffin, let the mourners come. That's too perfect right there. Keeps going. Especially around here, this is where I kind of felt, like, especially around this line. This is where I felt it was it felt a little bit satirical. Let aeroplanes circle, moaning overhead, scribbling the sky the message he is dead. Put crepe bows round the right next to public doves, let a traffic policeman wear black cotton gloves. Like, that's just way too perfect right there. And then, considering the history right here of where he's from, wow, I feel like I learned something new today. Thank you, game. Anyway. The poem is littered with hyperbole to the point where it feels like he's mocking the melodramatic analogues that people use to describe their mourning for lost love. For example, this line. Luke's sentence trails off suddenly, and his visible flush on his cheeks as he closes the book. Especially when it gets to that days of the weeks, like, he mocks the fact that we use directions. He mocks the fact that we use... Let me show you the poem again. Hold on. He mocks the fact that we use directions. He mocks the fact that we use days of the week, that we use time, ephemeral terms, and thinking that this is eternal. I mean, and also the last line especially. I thought love would last forever. I was wrong. That's the more tragic part of the poem, but also the fact that that's the last thing a lover would say is love was wrong. That's where the satirical part comes in. So, darn, the English major is coming through today. But seriously, this stuff is fascinating. And this game just reinvigorated my interest. So, thank you, Ebullience Games, for English Poetry 101. Oh, I'm sorry. I got carried away. No, you didn't. If anything, I had way too much fun with that. Thank you. I study him, fascinated by the abrupt change of demeanor. I'd never seen him as animated as he was talking about the poem. Clearly, he's passionate about what he studies, and he's in his element when it comes to literature. No, it's intriguing. I never thought of the poem that way before. I'd love to hear more. Well, it's just one of many possible readings of the poem. It's up to the readers to interpret, of course. And you prefer this analysis? Luke nods, raising his gaze to mine. You? Which do you prefer? Ooh, which one do I prefer? Romantic one, satirical one, or don't have preference? Personally, I don't have preference because both of them are super valid. But knowing her, at least for Valerie, I feel like she would lean towards the romantic interpretation because of the way that she looks at the strings. But who knows? You know what? Let's do a bit of contrast. The romantic interpretation is pretty cool, so let's do that. I think I like the romantic interpretation more still. Sorry. Luke simply shrugs, a light smile playing on his lips. Most people do. Folding my hands on the desk, I lean forward, my interest now piqued. Why don't you? It's quite a pessimistic view at the poem, isn't it? From a beautiful love poem to sarcastic mocking and rejection of romantic notions? Pessimistic, but realistic. I tilt my head in this cryptic reply, realization slowly dawning on me. You don't believe in love. He gives the casual shrug. Perhaps. I gave in disbelief as flippant an attitude towards something as serious as doubting the existence of true love. But how is that possible? You're a literature student. Everyone knows literature is full of poems and stories about romantic love. It's like one of the greatest subjects to write about of all time. Besides, what about the... I cut myself off. Her mindful of anyone walking by who accidentally overhears our conversation and learn of our secret. I expected Luke to shut down immediately the mention of the red strings of fate, like he usually does, but surprisingly this time perhaps it was good because of his good mood he reacts differently. He simply continues smiling and shrugs again. Poems about romantic love are overrated. In some ways it's kind of true, I admit. It's too common of a topic. What do you write about then? Everything except that. Friendship, family, nature, life, death, you know, the certainties of life. After all, love isn't everything, even though many people believe it's so. Still in disbelief, I can only shake my head. You are a walking contradiction, Luke. Am I? One corner of his lips tugged upwards into an amused half grin. Well, that's the first time I've been called that. I continue eyeing him with a mixture of confusion and fascination while he returns my gaze with amusement. Huh. A literature student who studies love poems on a daily basis, but doesn't believe in love. And a seer of red strings of fate who doesn't believe true love exists. My eyes flickered down to the absent place in his finger where his red cord should have been, and I can't help but wonder. Could his attitude towards love have something to do with that? As though sensing my train of thought, Luke's smile dimmed slightly, but he remains polite and friendly. Well, as much as I want to stay and continue chatting, I'm afraid I have to run, or else I'll be late to my next class. Would you mind checking out the rest of the books for me? He tips his head in the direction of the books still lying in front of me. Oh, right, I almost forgot. Sorry. I took back to action, rushing through the motions. When I'm finished, I hand the books back to him and watch as he places them carefully into his bag. Here, sorry about the delay. No problem. Thanks a lot, Val. I'll see you around. See ya! Slinging the backpack over his shoulder, he turns to walk away, and I can only stare at his retreating figure, my mind buzzing with more unanswered questions. Something I've come to expect as a necessary consequence to every encounter with Luke. I hum to myself as I make my way back to campus, my spirits high despite the long shift at the restaurant. A grin climbs onto my face and I slide my hand in my pocket, feeling the heavy metal coins and crisp bills. I love it when some rich Chinese tycoon comes in for a meal and leaves a generous tip. Summoning to myself, I continue down to the street, a spring in my steps. I peek at my watch, surprised to find I'm actually going to be early for my shift at the library, since my shift at the restaurant ended early. In no hurry to arrive at my next part-time job, I let my footsteps slow. What should I do since I have some time to kill? I mean, I could go back to my room first, dorm room first, and look at my essays, but do I really want to? I make a face at the thought. I don't want to ruin my good mood with homework. The couple is heading my direction, laughing loudly at a shared joke, and as usual, my eyes are drawn to the happy couple. A quick glance at their joined hands confirms my suspicions that their strings lead to each other. How sweet. As I pass by, I can't help but overhear their playful banter. I'm not letting you choose the location for our date again, apart from the last disaster. Wow, hey, it wasn't a disaster. I almost fell off the cliff because you had the brilliant idea of taking me hiking in high heels. We're going to the beach this weekend, alright? No ifs or buts. You're so bossy, but you love me for it. The boy sighs in exasperation, but the love in his voice when he speaks is plain as day. God knows why, but I do. The girl whispers something that I can't hear, followed by a light giggle, the sound full of bliss. A wave of jealousy rushes through me, so acute that I freeze for a moment. My eyes flutter shut, surprised by the intensity of my feelings. I want that. I want to be able to have silly, flirty conversations with my soulmate like that. I want to be able to lean against his arm and stare up into my eyes like that. Why is the universe so unfair to me? I swallow hard and try to shake these depressing thoughts away. No, I can't think like that. I'll find my soulmate soon. I know that. Everything is going to be okay. I try to redirect my attention towards the previous dilemma, finding something to do to kill time before my next shift. Perhaps it's because of the young couple's conversation, or perhaps it's because of my sudden emotional vulnerability, but the first place that pops into my head is the beach. I hesitate for a second. I haven't been to the beach in ages, not since my father passed away when I was a child. Too many memories, one can say. Should I? In the end, the urge to feel the sand under my bare feet and dipping my hands into the water wins out over my trepidation. I might as well. I have nothing better to do anyway. I just stay there for half an hour at most. It'll be just fine. With a nod, I veer to the left, heading for the beach nearby. Ooh, that's beautiful. Setting a casual pace, I stroll down the beach, basking in the feel of the sea breeze kissing my cheeks. Closing my eyes, I let out a content sigh. Oof. English, man. I've forgotten how much I love the beach. If only... In a flash, childhood memories began surfacing in my mind. Afternoons of walking on the beach with my parents, building sandcastles with my father, or swimming in the ocean with my mother. They've always loved the beach too. I often wonder how much of their love for the beach was out of actual appreciation for the ocean, rather than sentimentality due to how they first met. A cliche movie-like scene where his beach volleyball hit her in the head, and he offered to take her on a date to make it up to her. My heart clenches, and I try to swallow the sadness. I miss them. The sound of cheerful laughter all around me only serves to make me feel even lonelier and more miserable. Damn it. It was a mistake to come here. I turn to leave, but a familiar figure catches my eye. Is that Luke? I watch as he settles onto the sand at the corner of the beach, a notebook open in his lap. He seems focused on the happenings of the beach, not even noticing my presence, and I follow his gaze. A family of 4 is sitting on a huge blanket, the children tossing sand at each other while the parents look on with fond smiles. I return my gaze to Luke's hunched frame, who suddenly seems more vulnerable than I've ever seen him. Without thinking, I make my way towards him. He looks up when my feet stop beside him. Hey, Luke. Oh, hi, Val. What are you doing? Nothing important. Just trying to find inspiration for my next poem, I suppose. I do that too, actually. I sit down sometimes in a public area and try to, write something down. I'm started writing poetry again, and I'm hoping at a crossover in my fiction too. So yeah, sometimes I like to do people watching, but I haven't done that on the beach, actually. It's actually a good idea. He gestures at his notebook, and I take a quick peek at it. The page he's turned to is still mostly blank, other than a few illegible scribbles at the corner. Am I interrupting? No, of course not. He passes his hand next to him as an invitation, and I sit down beside him. Fancy seeing you here. I should be the one saying that. I didn't pick you as an outdoors person. What? You think I'd be the type to hold myself up in my room all day with papers scattered all over the floor and piles of books walling me in? Not even gonna dignify that with a response. I can't suppress a grin at the mental image. Actually, yes. You are exactly that type. Meanwhile, Valley just goes straight in. Luke shoots me a mock-wounded look, and I look out loud and giggle. I'm a writer. Writers need inspiration. Unfortunately for me, most of my inspiration comes from getting out there and observing my surroundings or admiring the beauty of nature. Something I need to do more of, actually. As much as I want to live up to my stereotype, I can't. I never get anything done. Right, that makes sense. Any luck so far? I incline my head at his notebook, and he grimaces. No, not really. Yeah, not yet. What's the theme of your poem? Maybe I can help. Luke's eyes widen slightly at my offer, and I shrug. I'm not an amazing writer or anything, but I did take a few years of literature, and I am studying journalism. I'm not terrible at writing. Well, I want to write a poem on family, but I can't really think of anything. I thought observing family outings at the beach would help, but my mind is still blank. Oh. The memories once again flash across my mind, and I avert my eyes, overcome with emotion for a moment. I'm sorry, did I say something wrong? My eyes dart back to his, noticing the way he's watching my reaction with concern. No, of course not, it's just... it's silly. He closes his notebook, slipping his pen into his pocket, and regards me with a gentle gaze. I doubt it is. Maybe it's because of his clear display of concern. Or maybe he just caught me at a weak moment, but I find myself opening up to him, letting the words pour out of my mouth. It's nothing. It's just that my parents and I used to go to the beach very often, almost weekly. They met at the beach, you see. It's where they had their first date and where my dad proposed. When I was born, they'd take me here every week, teach me how to swim, play volleyball, build sandcastles. The beach is just a special place to my family. I haven't been to a beach since my dad died when I was 6, so I'm just feeling emotional right now. All I could think of is how he'd hold my hand as we strolled down the beach, leaning down uncomfortably to accommodate for my height. The worst part is, I don't even remember much about him other than these memories. It's so sad. Not even a photo? The only things I know about my dad come from my mom. She'd tell me about how determined and hardworking he was, how he moved to America alone with nothing but hopes and dreams, and somehow built a successful life for himself. But I don't have enough first-hand memories. I don't remember the sound of his voice, the warmth of his eyes when he looks down at me. Aware of the tears starting to spill over, I give my head a hard shake, putting a stop to my torrent of words. God, I'm sorry for this rambling. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. No, don't apologize. I'm glad you trust me enough to tell me about this. I shrug and give a sniff, his gentleness calming me for some reason. I'm sorry for your loss. I know how it feels to lose a dear family member and how frustrating it feels to not be able to recall important moments with them. I tilt my head at the hint of sorrow in his tone, and can't help but ask. Your grandfather? He hesitates, clearly unused to talking about it, but he finally nods. And my parents. Oh, God! Now I see why he has this thing about the red strings. Oh, no. I'm so sorry. My hand creeps out on its own accord and settles on top of his hand in the stand. He doesn't give any sign of noticing my action, but his shoulders seem to relax slightly. It's alright. I don't remember them at all, to be honest, so in a twisted way it's easier. I only recall their faces from the photos shown to me. They died when I was 2 or so. I grew up with my grandparents. I try to imagine losing both my parents at such a young age, left with no memories of them, and I shudder. Suddenly, I feel blessed for the 6 years I had with my father and the 17 years I had with my mother. Oh my gosh. Goodness, man, this game is giving me feels right now. I was kind of when I read the backstory, but man, feels. I never got to meet my paternal grandparents, and I'm glad I got to spend time with my grandpa before he passed, and grandma too. And I'm glad, especially that both sides of my family love pictures, so I have plenty of them that I can think of them by. So. Sorry. Honestly, I don't know why visual novels aren't more popular. It's just, well, I do know why, but I don't know why that we don't really play them too much online, because it's time that we can have more of a community conversation, you know? And I think that's why I still do them, even though I know they're not that popular. Because it's a great way to talk to new people. It gives us a shared outlet. It's kind of like reading a book in a more general sense, but you actually get to see what's going on. Anyway. I'm sorry, I can't imagine how that must be like. There's a moment of silence before he replies. Don't be sorry, I accepted it a long time ago. His eyes meet mine out of the corner of his eye, and the corner of his lips tugged upwards into a teasing smile. Besides, my grandparents are great, especially with birthday gifts. I broke out a laugh, shaking my head at him. Are you trying to embarrass me? Because I'll let you know, I'm definitely not embarrassed by my reaction to the collection of first edition books you have in your room. Any normal person would react in the same way, especially upon hearing how you received them as gifts. Really? I guess wouldn't even let out a little scream when he saw the book. Like this. He makes a high-pitched squeal, apparently trying to imitate me, and I burst out laughing, giving him a harsh smack on the arm. I did not! You did. We grinned at each other for a moment. I'm glad that we're becoming... I like they're becoming tight. But what about Aaron, though? I feel like we're leaving him hanging. I know Luke probably thinks he was being subtle, but it's obvious he's trying to cheer me up on purpose. What surprised me even more than his attempt at brightening my mood is the fact that it actually worked. I could feel the remnants of my sadness drift away with the wind. My smile curved into an uncontrollable smile. Somehow, just talking to him, listening to his story, and letting him try to cheer me up has made my heart feel a lot lighter than before. I know that feeling, man. Thank you. For what? He gives me an innocent smile, a knowing glint in his eyes. Nothing. Well, I should be the one thanking you. I think I have an idea of what I want to write for the poem now. Really? That's great! I gave him a sly grin, nudging him slightly in the side. Since I helped, reckon I'll get to read your poem someday? A sudden flush spreads across his cheeks, and he can't quite meet my eyes. I wonder why. Well, maybe. Yes! I'll be excitedly waiting for your masterpiece. Don't get your hopes up too high. I still have a lot to learn about writing poems. Me too, my friend. Me too. I touch myself when I see the poem. He blushes further, turning away from me to look at the endless blue sea and the infinite horizon. You know, this sight always takes my breath away. You're really missing out if you continue avoiding the beach. The view here is simply phenomenal. I bite my lip. It's clear that Luke is trying to slowly encourage me to accept the pain of losing my parents and not let it stop me from going to a place I love, but I just don't know if I can. Can I really let go of painful memories? I like being able to smoke with the candle where it goes. I mean, obviously it goes upward all the time, but I mean, I like watching it. You know? I think she'll always have the memory of her parents, so... I know some people, they're not ready. But I think because she has Luke now, I think maybe something that she could try. I stared at the family of four that Luke was observing earlier, who seemed to be getting ready to leave. Maybe I can after all. At least I won't know if I don't try. I have to move on with my life sooner or later. Taking a deep breath, I gave him a cheeky grin. I guess I'll just have to try and find time to come here often. Maybe I'll run into you again next time. His eyes crinkle at the corners as he returns my smile warmly. I think it's a wonderful idea. I guess I'll be keeping an eye out for you next time I'm here. There he is! Nice job, team! Man, am I proud to call you my group mates. And what's up with Luke's face? Aaron slaps my back hard, causing me to wince. Next to Aaron, Luke also flinches for what I assume is Aaron's black slap as well. Seriously, good job. We're going to get an A for sure. That presentation went better than I could have ever expected. You see the way the teacher's eyebrows raised when Luke rebutted her point? She was so impressed. Aaron continues to ramble on as we make our way down the corridor. Did you see the way I handled that student who tried to challenge us? He lets out a low chuckle. I so KO'd him. Such a noob. I can't help but laugh, shaking my head at him. Yes, we know. We saw everything. You were there during the presentation, remember? Aaron beams it back at me as Luke wiggles off from beneath Aaron's arm under the guise of needing to push open the door, clearing her to escape from Aaron's clutches. Not that I blame him. I know. I'm just so pleased. All that hard work really paid off. I'm so glad I had you two in my group. It's been so much fun working with you. We should do this again next time. Ignoring Luke's protest, Aaron grabs him by the shoulder and pulls him in, squishing Luke's face against his own. If I could dodge, Aaron does the same to me. I love you guys. You two are the best. They're such a stereotypical anime trio. Oh my god. Please let go of me. My snicker turns into fear and Luke's muffled, exasperated voice. Aw, Luke, don't be like that. Group hug. Aaron squeezes his tighter and had a corner of my eye. I noticed Luke had to give up and struggle and just let Aaron hug him while he was grasping him like a doll. Despite his exasperation, we can both see the smile tugging at the corner of his lips that he's trying his best to stifle. Aw, we love you too, Aaron. You really did well, but it was mostly all you. Thank you. You saved my GPA. Aaron practically glows, bouncing in excitement. He squeezes us once more before letting us go. He is such a puppy! Aaron is such a puppy. It's adorable. Listen, why don't we go celebrate our success and our everlasting friendship? Do you guys have any classes next? I don't. Luke? Luke mutters something unintelligible under his breath before shaking his head. Perfect. Then let's go celebrate. Where do you want to go? I don't know. Any suggestions? How about the nearby Chinese restaurant, the Dragon Palace? Have you heard of it? Aaron's eyes light up and he nods in enthusiasm. Yeah, do you go there often? Is the food good? Well, I work there, so yeah, I do. In fact, I have a shift later at the restaurant, so it would be more convenient for me if we celebrate there, and I could just go straight to work afterwards. You work at the restaurant? I thought your part-time job was at the school library. I turned to look at Luke, who has his brows furrowed. I have more than one part-time job. 4 to be exact. 4? Aaron exclaims, his eyes widening in shock. Next to him, Luke's frown deepens. Yeah, I mean, not everybody can get a scholarship after all. Those funds are very limited, you know. And yeah, I mean, I've had friends who they can only go a quarter time or half time in college because they have jobs they use to pay off their education, but sometimes their workplaces pay for the education instead of them, so it's not an uncommon thing, believe it or not. I give a sheepish shrug. I'm saving up. What are you saving up for? The newest Final Fantasy game? I mean, I know it's expensive, but if you want it that badly, I could just lend you the money. A giggle escapes me. I don't know, Aaron. I don't really play video games anymore, remember? I don't really have time to. Oh, right. Then why? What are you saving up for? Flying across the world like a boss. Suddenly feeling awkward, I cough and mumble. I have a dream. I want to travel around the world, which obviously isn't cheap, so... Oh, wow. I never thought you would be the adventurous type, Val. Traveling around the world? That sounds so cool. Unfortunately, Luke looks less than impressed, and his frown is now transformed into a scowl. What places do you want to go? Asia, mainly. As far away as possible. To look for someone? Oh, snap. Oh, I think we struck a nerve. I blink in shock at Luke's disapproving tone, and Aaron else takes a step back. What? Who? I have no idea what you're talking about. Are you sure? I know what you're working yourself to the bone for. I know why your dream is to travel the world, and why you want to go to Asia in particular. And for those who don't know anime tropes, Red String of Fate, very common in anime in Asia, and Asia in particular, that's where the story comes from. There's like a pretty popular image of like Sailor Moon, and like the rest of the cast tied together by a red string of fate. It's like a very common theme used to show that like their stories are intertwined. And red string, it's also used to show like marriage. Usually it's around the ankles, but in a lot of modern illustrations, it's used with like usually the pinky finger, like they used in this game. So let me see if I can show you an example of what it is. I can't seem to find the illustration that I was thinking of. I might put it in like an edit once I have more time. Once I have more time of during editing, I'll show you what it looks like. But yeah, there's like the one whenever I think of Red String of Fate, there's a super popular Sailor Moon image of the cast bound by a red string of fate. I just thought of that. But also there's also even, I think of Jane Eyre with the red string of fate, with their equivalent of a red string of fate imagery, that there's a string tying her and Mr. Rochester together, and if they broke apart, it's like he would bleed openly, kind of like that line, essentially. I'll put it in the video too. I'll put it up the recording. But yeah, those things I just thought of, like, those are metaphors for Red String of Fate. But Asia in particular is where this story is very, very popular, and it's a very popular trait. It's a very popular trope. There's even like a series called Last Friends, where the opening scene is a red string of fate. Well, in this case, a red ribbon of fate. Yeah, I don't know why. It's really hard to find the image, but anyway. I'll keep going. You still believe that? He cuts off abruptly, and he both turn to stare at Aaron at the same time, mindful of his presence. Aaron blinks rapidly in confusion, but thankfully he takes the hint and backs away slowly. Okay, I have no idea what's going on here, but I'll just go stand over there for a few minutes until you guys are done talking. Smart move, Aaron. This is pretty tense. But it's too bad Aaron's like the big third wheel in this. It's sad. Luke waits until Aaron is out of earshot before continuing in a harsh whisper. You want to go look for your soulmate, don't you? Yes, I do. What's wrong with that? You're juggling 4 part-time jobs along with school? You're going to kill yourself with exhaustion, Val. I cross my arms, frowning. I can handle it. Luke gives a loud sigh, rubbing his face briefly. I know you're tough. I know you're extremely diligent and determined. But humans have limits, Val. You're going to sacrifice your health and sanity for nothing. As your friend, I can't just stand by and watch you do that. It wouldn't be for nothing. I want to find my soulmate. I want to find my true love, the person I'm meant to be with. How is that so wrong? I'll have enough money soon. It won't be too hard to find him. I just have to hop on a plane to different countries to see where my string gets more visible and vivid. Then I'll follow my string. Val. He closes his eyes, tugging at a lock of hair in frustration. I've never seen him get this riled up before. Maybe because he's done it before? Something is concerned. Reach out and touch his hand gently. Thank you for carrying me about with you, Luke, but I will be fine. I promise. I know my own limits, and this is worth it. Val. He opens his eyes, an internal struggle written all over his face. What? Have you ever considered the possibility that maybe we don't have soulmates? Have you ever thought that maybe you're basically killing yourself with work for nothing? What? I reel back in shock at his sudden question, and I shake my head back and forth slowly. No. No! Everyone has their own registering of fate. That's how it works. I've never seen anyone without one. Except us. And it just so happens that we are the ones who can see the strings. Don't you think that's too much of a coincidence? Have you never really, for even 1 second, thought that maybe in exchange for this gift we never asked for, we gave the chance to have our soulmates because it'd be unfair to be able to follow our own strings to find our soulmate? I open my mouth to deny it, but the words die in my throat. I was thinking that too, but oof. As much as I want to say no, the truth is I have. I have had my moments of doubts, of loneliness, of despair. I've wondered why, amidst all those around me every day, I'm the only one without a red thread tied to my pinky finger. That's why I began doing my research into red strings of fate, devouring any book on the legend that I can get my hands on. I took solace in the legends that tell me that every person on Earth has a red string of fate leading them to their soulmate, that the gods made sure of that. I chose to believe, and I will continue believing. I believe in the legends. As much as I try to continue sounding upbeat and casual, we can both hear how my voice is coming out a little strangled. Everyone has a string. Everyone knows that. It's clearly stated in the legends. I've met people with extremely faint strings before, those whose soulmates are on the other side of the earth. I'm sure it's just the same case for us. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if strings are favored that for other people because we are seers. Just as you said, it would be considered cheating at life. It's just a test for us. That's all. Everyone has a red string of fate. It wouldn't make sense for us not to have one. Luke stays quiet for a long moment before raising his eyes to meet mine. He seems sad, his eyes dull. I wish I had as much faith as you do. Luke. I reach out to wrap an arm around him, offering what little comfort I can. He stays stiff, but at least he doesn't pull away. I fumble for words in my head to make him feel better, to help him restore his fate. Give me 1 second. I know, I'm sorry, it's in a very tragic section, but I'll be right back. Stay tuned, friends. And we're back. Sorry, I had a little bit of a snack and a little bit of drink, but I'm good to go. So, good question. What do we say to Luke next? Saying, we both have soulmates, I promise. I've had the same doubts before too, so I understand. Or, I'm sure our power to see the red strings of fate is a gift, not a curse. So we've got 3 theories here. Because, yeah, it's possible that not seeing their own strings of fate is basically maybe either, yeah, maybe they were just basically chosen to give up their chance at being a soulmate, or having a soulmate, in exchange for having this power, albeit not of their own volition. But another possibility that Luke didn't even look at is that maybe, like what Valerie said, this could be a test of their resolve. And obviously, because they have this power, they can't get a head start on their own fate. But then, that wouldn't explain why they wouldn't be able to see other seers' strings of fate and where they lead. But a third possibility that neither of them really looked at is that because everybody has a soulmate, even though they can't see their own, because obviously, head start, equal share of the power, like those who can't see the strings. The third possibility they didn't really explore here is that maybe, in exchange, they actually have to choose their own soulmate. Granted, the price is higher, as they have to be very careful as to who they choose to be their soulmate, since it's continuous. But the fact they do have that choose, that means in the event they do fall for each other, which I think is what this visual novel is leaning towards, if they do fall for each other, they could choose each other and not have any hang-ups of anybody else they have to lead to, they have to be loyal to. So that's something they have to think about. So yeah, it could be a gift, not a curse. But I'm sure he must have something to think, like, why does he think that he doesn't have a soulmate? Has he tried something similar before and failed? Or has he read something that she hasn't that confirms, hey, this might not be a thing for us anymore? Or what? But then again, the one thing I can say for sure, considering that what happened outside the restaurant, is that she's had the exact same doubts as he does. But the thing is, though, she has hope. So, I think, let's see. I saved it right here. Okay, good. So, I think showing that we had those thoughts before, that crossed her mind, and yet she still resolves to keep trying, should be enough for him to back off for a little bit. Because we can't promise him that she herself is not sure of. He's going to argue devil's advocate with this one, so I'm thinking the middle. Luke seems surprised at my admission. I give him a sheepish smile. What? I'm not always as optimistic as you think I am, you know? I have moments of doubt and fear. Anyone does. You're right. I guess I just didn't expect you to admit that. I never lied to you, Luke. Luke sighs, quiet for a moment. If you thought about this possibility before, why are you still overworking yourself for a chance to meet someone who might not even exist? I smile softly, patting his arm. The same reason you knew immediately what I meant when I said I wanted to travel the world and go to Asia in particular. I just have more faith and determination in you because I'm my father's daughter. Well, like blind faith. Luke mutters under his breath, but he doesn't reply further. A minute of silence passes before Luke finally speaks again. And hey, you don't insult her like that, okay? The fact that her dad and her mother made it over to, I'm assuming this is the U.S. I am thinking maybe it's the U.S. Possibly East Coast, but considering the beach, how nice it was, it's more likely West Coast, because correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's any East Coast universities that are that close to the beach. Or it could be somewhere else. But this sounds like an American or a Canadian university. But, yeah. You don't insult her like that, and likewise you don't insult somebody's dreams of traveling the world. Okay. Okay. Back to it. A minute of silence passes before Luke slowly speaks again. I'm not going to change your mind today, am I? Not ever! Nope. I can't persuade you to quit at least one of your jobs? To get more rest and take care of yourself more? Well, that's a mild ask, but that's a good ask, but I don't think it's happening. Using a sing-song voice, I grin at him cheekily. Nope. Luke sighs, but there's a reluctant smile tugging his lips at my antics. I'm still thinking you're making a grave mistake. You'll pay the price with your health, and I don't want to see that. You need to worry less, mister. What do rich literature kids do to relax? Watch a Shakespeare play? Go to an opera? Whatever it is, you should try it. Luke cracks another smile, but Yoga's non-committal hum, and it's clear he's still dwelling on his concerns. I pat his arm again, hoping to offer reassurance. Hey, I'm going to be just fine, I promise. But we should get back to Aaron. He keeps peeking at us curiously. He's going to run over and try to eavesdrop on us soon. Absent-mindedly, Luke nods, sliding his hand into his pocket. I avoid Luke's eyes as I walk towards Aaron with a reassuring smile, who has an anxious look on his face. Is everything alright, Val? What happened? Nothing. It's nothing. Don't worry about it. I try to shake the nagging thoughts from my mind. I'm sure Luke's wrong. Why would we not have soulmates? After all, if that's the case, I would have found something in at least one of the books I searched through, right? Quick question, Val. Have you tried the internet? So specifically, like, the supernatural deep web? Because I'm sure there might be something over there that might have given you the answer to the very question you're asking. He's wrong. His theory must be wrong. I'm going to choose to believe the legends because they just have to be right. Val, can you cover table 6? Take his order, he just came in. On it! Pausing briefly to brush the hair out of my eyes, I rush out to the kitchen and stop short at the sight of the familiar boy sitting at a table. Luke? I walk over to the table, all with my waitressing training and my manners forgotten. Luke, what are you doing here? In my voice, Luke looks up with a smile. Is it just me, or does he look a little sheepish? Hey, Val. I'm here for lunch, of course. He gestures at the menu in his hand, and I give him another sidelong glance, remembering his fierce concern last week when he found out about my multiple-part jobs. Right, lunch. Are you sure you aren't just here to spy on me, make sure I'm not overworking myself? It's purely a coincidence he came here right after my shift started, which you knew about since I told you last week. Luke coughs unless he's made a new hire to cover half his face with it, shifting his eyes away from me. I have no idea what you're talking about. It was just a coincidence. I stifle a grin at him running the back of his neck, the tip of his ears turning red. The strange word spreading across my chest at Luke's obvious concern for me. Oh? Since when are you into Chinese food? Maybe I've always been into Asian cuisine. I am part Asian after all. I tilt my head surprised. You are? You never told me that. Did I not? My grandmother's Japanese. That makes me 1/4 Asian. Really? That's cool. I'm only 1%. True story. I'm planning on like compiling this reaction video that I did of my of my stuff, so it's hilarious. Long story. My gaze drops to his finger, where his thread should have been. If I remember correctly, the legend of red strings of fate is thought to originate from Japan and China. Could it be? So what food would you recommend? Checking out my thoughts, I blink at him in confusion for a moment before I regain my focus. Oh my gosh. I blink at him in confusion for a moment before I regain my focus. You should try the fried rice or noodles. Our chef's the best at them, so I guarantee it'll taste good. I'll have both then. I'll have a plate of dumplings too. Stop it, game. You're making me hungry. I scribbled down his order. My gaze occasionally straying to Luke's finger still. Turning myself away, I gave him my best welcoming smile and nod. Got it. Your food will be ready soon. Somewhat absentmindedly, I make my way back to the kitchen to leave Luke's order. Immediately get pulled aside by my friend, who's also working as a waitress here. Didn't you know that guy? I saw you talking to him. Who is he? He's cute. What? She giggles, gesturing with her head at Luke, who has now taken out his notebook and is writing in it with a look of concentration. Him? Who's that? Is he your boyfriend? What? No. I sounded like the happening with that line. What? No. I can feel the heat rising in my cheeks and I quickly avert my eyes. You sure, Valerie? You sure? Anyway. Really? Why not? He's cute and he seems interested in you. How do I respond to her? Oh man! Basically, I'm single. I don't know. Or it's complicated. And with that, I think this might be a fun part to take a break. But I might switch to something else later on. But anyway, thanks so much for watching this video. I know it's a little bit more of a chatterbox kind of video, but this was really fun. I really enjoyed this. So I hope this helped you relax too. So, if you want to check out all my stuff, I have a coffee page, though you absolutely do not have to donate. This is 100% out of me. I do not make any money from this. If I do put the funds in it, the funds will go entirely towards my radio show, which would take about 19 bucks to do. Of course, I'm working towards a job that would help me just do it regardless of this page, so. And it also would make it easier to find more games that I could actually play for myself as well. There's also my Twitter, DJMK for Life. This is my Twitch page, Towndersaya, Discord, PlayStation Network, Steam, Twitch, and also Vainglory. My YouTube is DJMK Off the Air. And then, of course, mahokutobichi.blogspot.com, and you can check out my Mixler page for any of the other recordings that I've done in the past. And then, finally, events. I will be at Comic-Con in Maryland. If you want to find out more information on what's going down there, please email the Nerds of Color or check out the website for more details. And if you happen to be one of the FanCon supporters, PhillyCon is making an offer for free admission on Friday and 50% off on Sunday, provided you show the stub that you supported FanCon or show a ticket in some way that you were involved. So, anyway, thank you so much for watching this video, and I shall see you next time. Bye.